The precious metals keep pushing higher and higher. Gold at a new all-time high, silver at a new all-time high, and Bitcoin is breaking out of its falling wedge pattern. And with that, once again, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you were able to relax a bit over the past few days. And that's why there was no video yesterday. Everything's a bit quieter, but we should slowly start getting back into it. And with that, welcome to a new crypto update video. Yes, Bitcoin is at just under $89,000. Last night, or rather, this morning, we briefly hit $89,600 up here. We tested the Asia range high again and got rejected here once more. I'm still not really happy with all of this, so I'm not bullish. In my opinion, the whole move we've seen in the last few hours isn't really sustainable. But all right, let's take a look at everything now, including what trades I've made recently over the holidays. I'll give you an update on all of that now. But before we get started, as always, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, you're welcome to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can basically trade anything you want or anything we discuss here in the videos, whether it's Forex, crypto, or stocks, then feel free to register with my partner exchange, BingX. The link for that is down in the video description. At the moment, there are up to 11,500 USDT available. Bonuses that you can claim. So now I'd say let's not waste any time. I'm really excited after taking a day or two off to get back into it. I have to say I missed it. All right, then Bitcoin, as I said, just under $89,000. The short position is still running. Long position for everyone who caught this breakout here from below, from our falling wedge that we talked about. Take profits, in my opinion, even a second take profit by now, because from down here it is already a 3% increase. That is quite a lot over the holidays, in my opinion, so just take it. Especially because now, as you can see here, we're positioned quite well, right in the golden pocket of this downward movement, or rather, we've just tested the Asia range high. So now taking profit is definitely a good decision. In my opinion, we then had this inefficient move here in the last few hours. You can see this candle here, which within an hour went from 87.3 up to almost 89.4, so nearly a $2,000 move upwards. Honestly, that's not really what I want to see, especially not over the holidays. The exchanges are still closed. It's not really good because this just creates a new CME gap again. Above all, we've just tested the Asia range again. If we look at today's economic calendar, if it would load, you can see there's just nothing happening today. So there really won't be much happening. That's why it's better to just take things a bit slower. The only things that are really pumping right now are silver and gold. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. But take profits, the short is still running, nothing has changed. Let's move on to the next step. Let's look at the funding rates. The funding rates are rising, and not by a small amount. They're now in the positive everywhere. That's not a good sign. So if we're already seeing this with such a small pump, especially over the last few days where not much has really happened, and now with such a small pump, things are already turning positive again, that's probably not very sustainable. Point number 2 is the heat map. You can see we still have this big cluster up here at around 91.3. We could still reach that, but what worries me more, and I keep saying this in the last videos as well, is just look up there. There's hardly anything left at 105 and nothing worth mentioning at 96. Most of the liquidity, 86, 85, so still this big wall in the range we're moving in between 85 and 90,000. The next step then is down here at 80,000. And what continues to really worry me is this area around 70,000 US dollars. From 71 down to 70, a massive amount of liquidity has built up over the last few days. And in between, there's just nothing, no real support left, nothing else to pick up essentially. But these levels are very, very significant. If we also take a look at the order book, we can see, if you remember the videos from 2 days ago, there was massive spot buying, and now everything that was bought on spot is being dumped back onto the markets 2 or 3 times over. That's why the prices are rising. There's still massive selling going on to the upside. It's all relatively futures driven, even though for the first time in a long while, we're now seeing futures down here as well. That surprises me too. As I said, in the past few days, it was always the case that futures and spot buying actually kept the prices pretty stable. Now, selling is happening again during the rally upwards. So that's not really what you want to see, especially since the selling is already persisting again. So to me, this doesn't look like a sustainable increase, but rather like a retail-driven market again. Of course, that's also because the US markets are closed for now. And as a result, there's just much less liquidity in the markets right now. If we also take a look at the news situation, just yesterday I reposted it, CPI inflation data quality has rarely been worse. In October, 40% of the data was simply estimated. It's unbelievable. So you can really see just how bad the data has become by now. And you can also sense the uncertainty from the fact that something like silver is just going completely to the moon. China is facing a little shortage of physical silver, so people are expecting that silver will gradually become a bit scarcer, and that's ultimately why the price is rising so extremely. Let's see how long this will last. Other than that, there's really very little to say about Bitcoin at the moment. As I said, there is very little news, but it rather suggests that we will definitely go down another level here. To the upside, our liquidity remains. That means our falling wedge also theoretically has the target of around 90,000 to just under 92,000 due to the inefficiency that still exists up here. But otherwise, just be careful. Take something from the table, as I always like to say. So take some profits. We've also left this vector down here now. Just be careful with the whole topic. Let's move over to Ethereum. What's happening there? Not really much. We've seen this move there as well. But again, not really a sustainable move. Here too, this spike in volume shot up extremely in the last few hours. And since then, the volume has dropped off again. So to me, it looks more like manipulation. And if we just draw a straight line here again from this high over here or this intermediate high, you can see for yourself. They just pulled liquidity out of the order block again, and that's it. Again, liquidity swapping. And then in the end, they grabbed the high and turned it back down. That means, so to speak, in quotation marks, it's running manipulatively at the moment. It doesn't really have anything to do with manipulation, but that's just how the markets are working right now. They're driven by liquidity and are grabbing every last straw where something is just lying around at the moment. Same game with Solana. Again, this move upwards, again, the liquidity was swapped out. And on the 1 hour 200 SMA, that's this purple line here, as you can see, again, just liquidity swapped, no sustainable rise, and down it goes again. This is not really sustainable. Unfortunately, I can't give you any hope at the moment. Let's move on to the traditional markets. In that regard, gold keeps pushing higher. Once again, it hit a new all-time high, even though the volume is starting to drop off a bit here. I've already mentioned silver, $75, almost $76. So the next step will probably be around $80. The move is looking more and more parabolic. The volume is still really at a very high level. I just wouldn't short it. So anyone shorting silver right now is honestly crazy. Personally, I still prefer gold. The short position is still open. Here on Pionex, just like our long position is also still open. So nothing has changed there at the moment. I'm still waiting for that extra push upwards. But we've received more data, which ultimately led to the fact that the FedWatch tool hasn't changed. We won't be getting a rate cut. And normally gold and silver would be pushed by that into the next rate cut. But the chances of a rate cut keep dropping. So why are these two precious metals rising so strongly? It's simply because just look at the dollar. The dollar is extremely weak at the moment. We are still seeing risks due to a weak US dollar. We're seeing it again. The yen is weakening a bit. But that doesn't mean the carry trade is already over. I wouldn't count on that. A short recovery rally, that's all it is in my opinion, but we are in uncertain times. I read the news to you. More and more people have to look for jobs. Uncertainty is growing. So to me, this still doesn't look sustainable. Then it's basically the same story at the US stock exchanges. We're at all-time high levels, including the S&P 500. Wait, where is it? Here, S&P 500. We're just about to reach my short area. How long have we had this sell zone in place now? I think this short zone or sales zone has been up here since October. I'm just waiting for it to be triggered, and then we'll see here as well. Or I'll open a short position. I don't care whether global M2 keeps pushing upward or not. In my opinion, that has absolutely nothing to do with it because overall liquidity is simply lacking. And as we've discussed before, let me show you again here. Where do we have it? Where do we have the news? Here exactly. That the leverage market, or rather the ETF market, has simply increased 12.5 times. So it's incredible how much leverage and how much money is being pumped in there. And the indices, whether it's the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, are either not at their all-time highs or just barely there. While the leverage market with the 3 times ETFs is absolutely skyrocketing. These are simply warning signs that we shouldn't ignore, so just stay cautious. So I'm still staying short on Bitcoin, and I'm going to wait and see how today plays out a bit longer. Okay, what possible new news might there be at this point? How might the S&P 500 develop as well? And if we reach my short area, I will definitely open the short position here and I'll be sure to let you know. Otherwise, in my opinion, not much will happen. We still have the issue with Japan. The bonds are still at 2.04%. So if the carry trade is slowly unwinding, meaning it's being closed out, then we're in a very, very early phase. And at the moment, there's really no sign that all of this has already been priced in. As I said, trading volumes are low. Be careful here. We're heading into the weekend now. But for me, absolutely nothing has changed in the past few days. I'm still extremely bearish when it comes to this whole topic. There's a chance that we'll see another brief relief rally, of course, even towards 92,000. But at the moment, it doesn't really look sustainable. And with that, I'd say that's it from my side for now. I wish you all a great weekend and happy holidays to those who are still celebrating or doing something. Otherwise, we'll hear from each other again on Sunday evening for the live stream. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I didn't want to do a live stream yesterday because I think most people are still with their families and so on. Otherwise, we'll hear from each other again at the latest on Sunday. Thank you for listening and definitely stay cautious out there. And otherwise, all that's left for me to say is happy holidays. Have a great weekend. See you then. Ciao, ciao. And as always, stay crypto.